Hey guys, Ben here and welcome back to another video on Superman Lois Season 3. Today we're going to be breaking down Episode 13, aka the Season 3 finale. It was an insane episode, so much went down. You're going to have to stick with me throughout this entire video as we break down and analyze what the hell happened in the ending scene. And definitely what it means for Season 4. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like and a comment and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future DCTV videos later this year. Okay, so first things first, we have been in the know for a long time that this Season 3 finale would end with a cliffhanger. And obviously this left the question, since Season 4 was announced and all the regulars were announced to be leaving, that being 7 series regulars, will it wrap up things properly or will it leave everything open in regards to all the other characters? This episode gives us our answers. I'm wondering if they shot anything extra that could be used for the episode 1, so the season premiere of season 4, which could tie up a few things to do with the other characters who aren't going to be series regulars, but could totally be guest stars or recurring characters on the show, because they haven't ruled that out as of right now. But we're going to get into that later in this video, so stick around because we've got lots of stuff to break down and talk about. So the episode begins and we're going through this chronologically 32 days after Lex has been released from prison. Lois narrates as everyone goes around doing normal stuff, living their life, but over the last 32 days the main question that has been going on in her mind is, what will Lex Luthor do next? Because as you saw the episode before, he seriously threatened Lois to stop writing or else, pretty much. And since their mini chat way back 32 days ago, Lois has been publishing a bunch of articles, which is clearly a big mistake on Lois's part, but you know, she's Lois Lane, she's not going to answer to anybody, even if it is Lex Luthor, and this is a very, very brutal version and degraded version of Lex Luthor. But the main question is, what will Lex Luthor do next? And that's what we're also wondering as viewers as this episode begins. And so after the intro, General Lane shows up at the Smallville house. He's talking about Lex and how he's basically not been seen at all since he was released from prison, and it's pretty clear that they all have a bad feeling about what he's been doing, because why would he be away for 32 days without surfacing since being released from prison? Clearly he's had something on his mind and he's been planning something, and it's most definitely to get back at Lois for what she's been doing, especially since she's now ignored his warnings. But as we go over to Carl's apartment, it's revealed out of nowhere suddenly that Chrissy is pregnant. And this was quite a shock, if I'm being completely honest. I was not expecting this. So this happened as she throws up, and basically Carl is in a state of shock just for a few seconds until he kind of gets around to it and he's like, okay, this is the reality. And so he's sure about this, but Chrissy is still kind of hesitant. And, you know, she mentions, like, they're not married, basically they haven't been together that long, they don't even live together, and they're already having a baby. Yes, this might be a shock, but at the same time, I guess it's a good thing, especially for Chrissy. I think Carl's mind straight away went to, oh, what's Lana gonna think about this? What's my kids gonna think about this? But at the end of the day, this is a baby and obviously he's going to care about it. And so Carl later goes and tells Lana and his whole family. At first it's a bit awkward because he's just been there waiting for Lana to return, and the kids are like, Dad's been weird this whole time. But he finally reveals that yes, he's going to be a dad with the baby of Chrissy. Obviously this comes as quite a shock to Lana. She's definitely not been expecting this news, but that's just the reality. And so we go over to John Henry Irons, who is back and asks Lana out on a date. Will this continue? That is the main question I had at this point. It does continue in the episode because we see Lana and John Henry who go out for drinks and they get it on. Obviously this has been brewing for a long time. Throughout the course of this entire season, there has been a tension between the two of them. John Henry has been around quite a lot, helping them out, especially after the onomatopoeia attack. It's been clear that they've had a connection for a long time, but obviously Lana's been in a kind of tricky situation, plus she's the mayor, she's very busy. John Henry's very busy with all that he's been doing. And even in the midst of all of this, he does reveal that he's been offered this opportunity in Metropolis, and it's very likely that he's going to be going. And so this development was revealed by General Lane, and he basically offers DoD money for Natalie and John Henry to continue to build tech for them, because they need a whole lot more of it, and so they could set up the steelworks that they've been meaning to do for a long time. And so this move would basically mean they would have to go to Metropolis and basically start a new life once again, but they would literally be doing their dream job. Plus also a benefit for Natalie is that Mateo is going to a college nearby, so obviously that's very exciting for her as well. And so yeah, this is definitely a big development, but I don't know where this thing with John and Lana's going to play out, especially if the characters don't supposedly show up next season, or if they show up like twice in the whole season. Are they going to be together? Is it just going to be like a one-time thing? I get the feeling it's going to be more like a one-time thing. I don't really think they're going to play this out too much, but I've really liked the connection that they have had this season. It's a shame that the characters are not going to be series regulars next season. Okay, so let's move on with this. So Lois is ready to be intimate again. Clark and Lois then fly off to their getaway location. Obviously this is Tao Rowe's apartment in Italy, which they actually later invite the boys to come along, bribing them to basically get them back on their side. Obviously they've had their struggles together in recent episodes, and so they also invite Jordan to fly them there rather than buying plane tickets and doing that and taking a long time when they can literally just fly there. But Clark and Lois, they get it on, and it's a actual really sweet scene. Obviously Lois has been going through a hell of a lot in this season with her having cancer and basically going through all the treatments and everything, and she's had to get surgery, and it's just been a lot to get used to for her, and she's finally ready to get back to some sort of normalcy. So it was an important scene that we had to have in this season finale, and the lighting was great. It looked like an absolutely beautiful location, so I liked what we saw here. Okay, let's continue with this, because we have Clark, who hears that with his super hearing, Judge Reagan has been murdered. Now that is the same judge that we saw in a previous episode who was trying to kill herself, and that was because of Bruno Mannheim and his control over her. And so it's actually really sad to see her like this. She's literally been killed basically just to send Lois a message that he's basically going after absolutely everyone that is protecting or is involved with Lois in any way. It's just such a shame, because Lois really got through to her in that previous episode, and so now, you know, that's all gone to waste. But this all happened as Chrissy revealed to Clark and Lois that she is having a baby with Kyle, and obviously they're super excited, but Clark had to dash off in order to attend to the crime scene, and so he brings Lois along. They see her, and Lois is sure in this moment, this is Lex, he's trying to get through to me by going for these people. So next up, Jordan, Jonathan and Natalie meet General Lane's new partner. Obviously this is a new thing, we haven't really gone too much into this, but all of a sudden later in the episode, General Lane, whilst getting on with his new girlfriend, there is a big twist because he is kidnapped by her, and it turns out she's been working for Lex all this time, and so she's been manipulating General Lane in order to get close to him to basically take him out and have one important person who is protecting Lois taken out of the picture, and now it's just Superman left to protect her. However, I'm pretty sure John Henry would have helped out if Superman let him. He could definitely stand up to Lex, and maybe that's going to be the answer. Don't know how much John Henry is going to show up next season. I really hope they finish his story properly, because he is one of the best characters on the show. And whilst Superman is busy dealing with whatever he's dealing with at the end of the episode, someone like John Henry and Natalie could be very useful, along with the resources of the DoD, to go find General Lane and also find Lex. And also, because this is a season finale, like I said earlier, there is things they have to wrap up. Jordan has been mad at Sarah, and he's been acting weird around her for a long time, but now he is finally ready to apologize, thanks to his dad pushing him. And I think Jordan in this moment basically realizes, yeah, he's not been acting good lately around her, and it's just impacted Sarah for the worst. So it's about time that he apologizes for his actions and just basically move on from this if they can. Okay, so Lana and John Henry, as I said, they go at it right after this. It was a scene that was coming. But in the meantime, at that event in Smallville, Natalie, Lois and Clark realized that something has gone wrong, because Natalie was supposed to meet General Lane like 20 minutes ago. He's not answering his phone, and Clark finds his missing phone by listening to the ringtone, and it's nearby in an alley, and so he's not there. So clearly this is Lex's work, just as Lois states. And after a long wait, maybe like 25 minutes into the episode or so, I don't know the actual run time, but Lex Luthor finally shows up. Obviously this has been playing into the mystery of where has he gone for these 32 days, what's he been planning. Well, we see that the guy at the end of last episode is alive. He's just had his ear ripped off, as you can see from the bandages on his head, but Lex is in Mannheim's lair still with Bizarro, feeding him a whole ass cow. And so this segment ends as he says it's time to go kill the Man of Steel. So at this point he's got rid of General Lane, and now Superman is the only one to protect Lois, and Lois is the real target here. So I like the way that things are going, because with Lois being the main target of Lex, Superman is obviously going to be doing the business in terms of fighting, but Lois is going to have to really have her wits about her in order to try and defeat Lex and not get hurt in the meantime, because he is really trying to get through to her. And then what follows after is a flashback to the end of last episode when Lex first encountered Bizarro in the lair. Obviously this Bizarro has basically lost it already, but Lex kills Bizarro as he attacks one of his henchmen, and he kills him over and over again, but he just won't die. He keeps on reviving, and he bizarrely, pun intended, gets stronger every time that he is killed. And so Lex has this idea in his mind that he is going to use him to kill Superman. And so Lex has been manipulating him for these 32 days, molding him in a way that he sees fit to defeat Superman, a weapon literally designed to kill Superman, just like Doomsday is in the comics. Obviously this is Bizarro right now, and so there's a killing montage of him repeatedly killing Bizarro over and over and over again in a whole different manner of ways, including using a chainsaw, burning him, shooting him, you name it. Lex is going at Bizarro in order to make him stronger, because basically every time that he dies, he becomes more of a beast, and he basically becomes invincible and more like Doomsday. His appearance changes. You can still see that it's Bizarro, but he's getting bigger and bigger. He's getting taller and taller. He's got things sticking out of him, and as he walks out the smoke, you can see him properly for the first time as a proto Doomsday, I would call him, because he's not like up to the levels that you would normally expect Doomsday to be at this point. And so going back to the kind of normal stuff instead of the insane Doomsday Bizarro scenes, we have Kyle who proposes to Chrissy during the celebrations. This is obviously a big moment for Kyle and Chrissy, and maybe one of the last big moments on the show as a whole, because obviously they're not coming back as series regulars next season. But it's at this moment that things start to go off the rails, as Superman is up in the air, up in space, trying to track down where Lex Luthor is because of General Lane being kidnapped. And so Superman finally tracks Luthor down to Smallville. He is coming face to face once again with Lex after these 32 days, and Lex has come, but this time he's not alone. He calls Bizarro, who arrives by shedding and setting fire to the barn. Obviously this is kind of like a bad omen, maybe a future projection of what the show is going to be like next season, probably with Smallville being less of a thing and us moving over to Metropolis is very likely. Even with John Henry Irons and Natalie, it's teased that they're going to be going to Metropolis next season, so maybe Superman and the family are going to be following suit. But in the meantime, let's talk about Doomsday, because holy shit, was that an insane scene when he first came out of that barn, basically blazing on fire, and he's an absolute beast. Just look at that guy. Tell me he's not scary. Like, he is a true monster. I have no idea what Lex has done to him. He has mutated him to the point that he is literally Doomsday and he is invincible. I really like that he still got the House of L symbol baked into his chest so we know, and so Clark knows, this is Bizarro. This is the guy that obviously you came up against. He supposedly died, but he was brought back alive, and he's been tested on, he's been killed over and over and over again for 32 days by Lex and his crew in order to become this beast who can defeat Superman. And obviously this is very comic book accurate. The way that they do it, no, Bizarro normally doesn't become Doomsday, but there is a version of him who is Doomsday Bizarro. So it's really cool to see this. So as Doomsday faces off against Superman, they land in the middle of Smallville. Everyone sees them fighting in the middle of the street. Obviously, Bizarro is huge. Like, there's no way you're not going to see him. Lois and the family see Clark, and Clark is like, no, don't go. Like, I've got this. And he's basically been teased by Lex that he's going to get killed. And so at this point, in my mind, I'm going, are they seriously doing the death of Superman? And is that the huge cliffhanger that's going to be at the end of the episode? But Clark takes Doomsday, gets him out of Smallville, plunges him into the sea. They go down, he freezes him, he puts him on a spike in the middle of Metropolis, which is a bit dangerous, might I say myself. But hey, it was a great scene. It looked insane as he was on that spike. And for a minute, Superman thinks, job done, Doomsday is dead. Obviously, that's very uncharacteristic of Superman to try and kill someone, but it is Doomsday after all. That's literally the only way that you can incapacitate Doomsday. You have to kill him. And so, despite Superman thinking that he's dead on the spike, he is actually revived, which is not a surprise to us because we've seen him repeatedly die in all these brutal ways. And so they have this insane fight. They go through the subway, destroying everything in their path. And Doomsday gets the better of Superman, beating him to an absolute pulp, and he brings him up into space, at which point you hear Lois talking to Clark as he stops breathing, and obviously with Clark's super hearing, he can hone in on Lois's voice barely. He's looking very dead, and at this point I'm like, is Superman actually dead? But we get a bunch of flashbacks to their life as Doomsday takes him out into space, and surely, bit by bit, Superman begins to gain strength from the sun, which obviously worked against Doomsday's favor. I guess he just didn't know that the sun powers Superman, and so he gets stronger, and he absolutely slams Doomsday into the effing moon. That's right, guys, we are going to the moon. We went to the moon on Superman and Lois. Who would have thought? Not me. I mean, yeah, we've been in space before, but a fight scene on the moon? They really went all out with this ending. And so, wow, what an ending shot as Superman and Doomsday land on the moon, face off against each other, and go at it. We have this slow motion shot as the earth in the background makes for an insane backdrop as Doomsday and Superman fly towards each other, about to beat the hell out of each other. Once again, this is going to be an infinite battle that's going to last forever. I have no idea how Superman is going to defeat this ultimate Doomsday that he is facing off against. And so Lex Luthor has really created the perfect killing machine, who is, as far as we know and as far as we see, much stronger than Superman. So what a way to end season 3. This was a fantastic season. If I'm going to be rating the season as a whole, I guess I'm going to give it like a 9.5 out of 10. Like, it was pretty much perfect throughout the whole season. Yeah, there's a few scenes here and there, but pretty much like the whole season was just absolutely brilliant. So one of my favorite Arrowverse seasons for sure. I'm going to have to go back and watch the season just to double check everything, but I feel pretty confident about that. I've given Superman and Lois like super high ratings every single week since season 3 began. And so now we start the long wait until we get season 4, presumably in 2024, so next year around January, February time, where we will have a 10 episode run that will be going through a lot of big changes, because as I mentioned earlier, there is going to be 7 series regulars leaving, that being Kyle, Chrissy, Sarah, Lana, John Henry, and Natalie, as well as General Lane. All those actors who play those characters are not series regulars next season. They can appear as guest stars and they can appear as recurring characters. It remains to be seen who is going to show up and who is not going to show up. Let's break this down quickly in regards to the way that it leaves things with all these characters, because as I said at the start of this video, the big question going into this is, how are they going to wrap things up, and what was the cliffhanger going to be? Obviously we've gone over the cliffhanger, but let's talk about those characters. So Kyle and Chrissy are about to get married. The proposal happened in this episode and the baby was announced. Obviously it's a huge thing, and if they were still series regulars, I definitely think we would be exploring their relationship more next season. But I presume with them leaving, they're going to just move on, and we're just going to see the characters if they pop up in guest star roles. Obviously they're not like super important characters, I would say. I think Sarah, Lana, John Henry, Natalie and General Lane are definitely more important than them, but that's not to say that I haven't loved them. I think Kyle has been great. Chrissy has really grown on me in the last season or so, and so like the others, I'm definitely going to miss them. I hope to see them at least once or twice next season. Sarah and Lana. Sarah right now, the way that she ended, basically Jordan made a big apology to her and Sarah is currently okay with Jordan. We didn't really get too much else in regards to her future. And in regards to Lana, I'm not too sure. The only big thing that happened to her was the fact that she got it on with John Henry, and obviously that's a big thing, but it's very likely that John Henry is going to be moving to Metropolis along with Natalie. I feel those two characters are the most likely to appear next season as recurring characters rather than as guest stars, just because they've been already set up to be in Metropolis for next season. And if the show actually permanently moves to Metropolis, that would obviously give them a good opportunity to continue their story. Let's talk about General Lane. So he was kidnapped at the end of this episode. Surely we're going to see more of him, figure out what's actually gone on. Obviously the extreme would be he's actually been killed, which would be absolutely insane, and I hope they don't do that. But I'm a bit worried in regards to him because the actor Dylan Walsh, his wife is actually come out saying that, you know, he's too expensive, he's not going to be in the next season because they haven't like come to some sort of deal. But I don't know, things right now are definitely up in the air. They aren't going to film for a while, and so I think in the next few weeks, in the next few months, there's going to be negotiations about who's coming back as recurring characters and who's going to make those guest star appearances to try and fill in the gaps as best as they can, and also end the characters in a satisfying way. So I think right now none of them are super satisfying apart from maybe John Henry and Natalie. Okay, so just in regards to Jonathan, obviously with Kyle potentially not being in next season, is he going to give up firefighting when they move to Metropolis? What's his story going to be? That's a big question for me. Jordan, he's still grounded, but they're still going to supposedly go to Italy to the villa, but we don't know if that's going to happen if Superman is not alive. So I think Superboy may come in clutch along with John Henry if he is around for next season, because they're going to need some serious help to try and stop Doomsday once and for all. It's going to be a really challenging task, because how do you kill an invincible monster who is a Kryptonian at heart? So that pretty much does it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Obviously this is a bit longer. That's because it was the season 3 finale. We're not going to have another review out until season 4 episode 1 comes out sometime next year. But we're going to have lots of DCTV and DCU content in the meantime up on the channel. So if you've missed anything lately, obviously go check out the channel page. But for now, you can leave a like and a comment on this video if you enjoyed it. It really helps out the channel. Also subscribe and turn on notifications to not miss any future videos. But for now, you can click on the top right corner of the screen to watch my latest video, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.
I see red.